Hello. Welcome back. Welcome to my channel. This is my YouTube channel. Hi. Well, you know what? We're going to do all that again. Hi. 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 My name is Mitch, and welcome to my channel. I use this channel to talk to myself with you. I was talking with my roommate the other day, and they were sort of asking me what being medicated feels like now. And I was sort of describing a little bit what I've described in previous videos too, which is just the amount of despair or the depression that I feel or anything like that still exists, but my ability to flip out of it or reframe out of it happens a lot sooner. So instead of something causing me to wallow for days, it now is only a couple hours, which is cool. But that got me thinking about these unforeseen side effects of where I'm at in my life now with this, which is interesting. Oh, okay, quick little tangent that makes sense. A daily check-in. Yesterday was the first time in a bit, really, since like being on meds, that I had a full, what I call a down day. It's when I'm just feeling a little depressed. But yeah, it was my first day experiencing a down day since being on Zoloft. And it was interesting. I was at a restaurant and I was kind of in a funk all morning, but I didn't really know why or didn't really think about it. Or really, I was just playing the party line that I always did, which anyone would ask how I'm doing. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm fine. Yeah, I'm just a little tired. I don't know. Or like claiming ignorance of, I don't know. And so I went to the bathroom and then it kind of just like clicked, like shwoom, mega focus of, oh, I'm feeling depressed. And then that recognition didn't alleviate it immediately, surely, but I didn't feel the need to fix it immediately, which I think is good. But it's just hard. And, I think a part of it was also a little self-imposed. I was just listening to music that morning and a sad song came on and I just got right up in my feels. So maybe that's the key difference, is that this one was a little more derived from me as opposed to something else externally. But I've been thinking a lot about what, did I have anything else to say about that? I've just, when's it going to be my turn? No. I've been thinking about, for a very long time, even still, I've had a terrible memory about my own past. I don't really remember much from pre-college, even now, kind of college a little bit too. But yeah, I just don't have memories like that. And yet, for people that I care about, I have a very specific memory. I can recall very specific things for people. Or I've always had a hard time sort of remembering my own childhood. Hello, trauma. Yeah, so it certainly has to be something related to a childhood trauma. But doing this has helped reignite some of my memories. Or has it really? Sometimes it doesn't feel like that. But this is what I wanted to talk about today. This is the idea that I thought about right before I started filming, is what does change feel like for someone who's never trusted themselves? How do I know when I'm trusting myself if I've never trusted myself before? And it's not necessarily trust always. I think it's also compassion and devotion and loving myself. The story that I remember, I was at a summer camp and I was talking to like a counselor, a camp counselor or something, and I introduced myself. I was like, "Hey, what's going on? I'm Mitch." And he said, "Oh, no, you look like a Brooks. I'm going to call you Brooks." And I just went with it. I was like, okay, cool. And Brooks sounded like a cool name. And that was, I was in my early teens. And so in retrospect, clearly that's like just completely number one, I was just a kid and this was a person in power, and they were like a cool guy in their 20s. And so I was like, oh my God, I have to be so, I simply must be so cool for this person. And so I shall now identify as Brooks, and I'm from the East Coast, and I sell used cars. But this self betrayal and realizing I've betrayed myself for a very long time and very easily. And so how do I rebuild trust with someone that has betrayed me? Because in every other scenario, in every other situation, when we talk about betrayal, it's cut them out, not worth your time. If they betray you, kick them to the curb. And I came across this thing. If I find it, I will reference it. Hello, it's me after the fact. I shall slam myself in here to tell you that I was Matthew Hussey. Matthew Hussey. I came across this quote and I saw it on a TikTok video. Don't get mad at me. You all see TikTok videos or you all watch these videos and claim it's an article. So I was reading this article and he mentions building love with ourselves or like building a relationship with ourselves. We oftentimes use the romantic model of relationships when in actuality it's probably a little bit better to be more of a parent child relationship with ourselves and just learning to reparent ourselves in the ways that our parents, while trying their best, failed, or parenting the inner child in us that's so deeply wounded that needs parenting still, even as we mature into adulthood. But yeah, so it's like how the hell am I supposed to trust myself when I have betrayed myself for so long and at every opportunity I fail myself or betray myself to keep it dramatic. Like I do. I really have betrayed myself my entire life as long as I can think about it. And part of that comes into just not remembering things. And because I wasn't even like, it wasn't even as the saying goes, you know, that's why I found acting is so I could be anybody but myself. It was like, no, I was never myself because by the time I was figuring it out, I was so deeply, deeply insecure that I tried to fit any sort of model or any sort of path that anyone else around me who was following that I thought was cool. That or like I and I'm realizing too that while it was my choice, and so I'm not necessarily blaming anybody at all, but a lot of the rebellion in my youth was from a place of pleasing someone else, betraying myself. Very clear memory just came to me. I was in elementary school and I invited a friend over just after school to play. And something happened where like I spilled milk onto a carpet and was like, okay. Or I spilled milk on the carpet, and so my mom came and found that, was upset, and so like grounded us and sent me and my friend to my room. And was like, just you can just stay in there, play in your room, and don't do anything else. And then my friend was like, hey, let's just sneak out this window in your room and go play in the backyard. And I remember thinking that this was a bad idea. I remember thinking that, you know, I remember knowing that this was wrong, but I did it anyway. I did it with that person. And yeah, that. So my rebellion has always been dependent on the people around me. Now, again, I'm not blaming anyone at all because I made those choices. I made the decision to do the thing, even if it was warped, um, so that I take responsibility for my own life because it's nobody's fault. Yeah, just realizing that only until now, and not even really now, but only until now, if I had the option between doing something for someone else that would betray either my morals or just like betray something in me, and staying firm to that and communicating healthy boundaries, I wouldn't do it. I would always betray myself. I'd always choose betrayal. And I have this fear that I still would. But now, because I'm looking at it and I'm trying to address that part of myself, it's becoming a lot more subversive and showing up in different ways, which isn't cool. Not cool at all. Yeah, I've I think I've always been interested in being someone else or just being anything but myself. So I'll be, I mean, God, I have taken every single internet quiz you can think of. Every single like personality test. What are you? Are you this type of thing? Are you that type of thing? And I am better now. But I remember always being disappointed in the result, or always wanting a different result, as if my life was always this grass is greener kind of thing, which hurts to say out loud and is hard to say out loud because I have an amazing life and I have amazing people in my life, and I've really always had amazing friends and amazing people around me, but for some reason I'm so, well, I know exactly the reason. I'm so I was still and still am. Yeah, let's be real. I am still so afraid of being abandoned that I would rather abandon myself so that I don't feel that feeling of abandonment again. And yet, the Ouroboros eats its own tail because by abandoning myself constantly, consistently, even if it felt less painful, it's now a death by a thousand cuts. Yes, death by a thousand cuts. Because, yeah, to betray myself over and over and over again has now made it automatic. And because it's automatic, it's now unthinking. And so now I have to do the extra work of actually thinking about it in order to not betray myself. And that's not even like to then do something else. That is, I think, just to get to neutral, to then make a conscious choice. Because I could still do the thing that I would just automatically do. But I was always automatically the to the yes. And yeah, like I've always wanted to be not me, which feels foolish. I know, because I can't be anything else other than me. I can only, even in those moments where I'm trying to be something else, I can only be an approximation of that thing or my interpretation of that thing. Like I growing up, my idol was Jim Carrey. 100%. So funny. Funniest person alive. And zany. Yes. And so any chance that or it was like him and like Chris Farley and just like all of these high energy, wacky goofballs. And so I emulated them as much as I could. And now it's the chicken or the egg, right? Where it's like, have I emulated them so long that that sort of zany goofiness has become a part of my personality? Maybe. And maybe a reason why I was always sort of drawn to them anyway is because there was a part of me that I was excited to see in the world, and so I attached to that thing. Was like, oh my gosh, this is it finally. But even still, that's them, and I'm not Chris Farley, and I'm not Jim Carrey. I'm Mitch, and it like it. All I can only laugh at it, really, at the cosmic joke of it all, because it's taken me this long to get to that, even to the point of personal neutrality. Because before, the phrase would have gone, I'm not Chris Farley, I'm not Jim Carrey, I'm just Mitch, and that's never going to be enough. Thankfully, I don't feel that way anymore, um, all the time. I'm human. Sue me. Don't, 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 don't you dare. You, come on, stop it. Don't sue me. You naughty, suing me, litigious little lark. Oh, what? Yeah, so I mean, I don't feel that way all the time anymore, which is good. And certainly at times I definitely feel like I'm just Mitch, and that's incredible. And that is good enough. Today, it just is. I just, I just am trying to be me. And then, okay, so then the follow up question is like, how do I regain trust in myself when I've constantly betrayed myself over and over and over again? And then at the same time, how do I know what is me versus something that I've put upon or something I pretended to be for so long that now it feels now that feels real, you know? What I find now in this moment that is working for me to regain that trust is it's actually okay. The first way was very innocuous. I used to have horrible decision paralysis, any down to what I would wear in the morning, and I would add maybe like an additional 20 minutes to my morning routine because I could not decide what clothes to wear. And so then I started, at the behest of my therapist, flipping a coin and be like, okay, it's this or that. Flip a coin, catch it. I'd always do 2 out of 3 because I don't know. It just feels more. It just feels more. You get it. You get it. The one off feels like, I don't trust that. It could have been anything. So I do it. I would flip a coin. And that helped me create the pathway of here is the solution. I will follow that solution. And that sort of tickled my intuition or tickled my feeling of like, oh, I think this is right for me and this isn't. I still don't. I'm not like a super intuitive, magnanimous spiritual being who only follows my intuition this way, that way. I still second guess myself all the time. But it has helped me open up my intuition. And so that has I found is what's helped me. That one. Flipping a coin. Having these two decisions, flipping a coin, whatever the outcome is, that's the decision I follow. Because I think a lot of also my decision paralysis came with that regret of, oh, what if I do this and then the other thing actually would have been better? But the only bad choice is no choice. And any choice that I make is ultimately good because it propels me forward. And then the other thing is slowing down and taking time to then ask, is this really right for me? And this one isn't as concrete or as effective for me, especially because of that doubt or because of that betrayal I've had for so long. It does work at times where I'm like, oh, I do get these sort of glaring moments of intuition where it is like, oh, yeah, no, that's not it. And so it's nice to cultivate that, but still that intuition, starting to listen to my intuition more and realizing that I've always had that intuition, but I just didn't listen to it. And also starting to get, I think in the beginning, it is twofold because I can either be very cutthroat about it and then saying, like, okay, if this is something that doesn't serve me, if this is a person that doesn't serve me, gone. And then to become more comfortable with that feeling of, look, I'm trying to figure out who I am, and if that's not something that you really jive with right now, jive? What? If that's not something if that's not something your little whippersnappers can root toot tootin' with, then skedaddle up off the high street. Being cutthroat about it and just being like, look, okay, I'm trying to figure this out, and if that's not something you can agree with, fine. And then down the line, becoming a little bit more, having a little bit more nuance with it as my intuition develops. I also remember I just had that thought too of the real and radical realization, especially for me as someone who has a lot of abandonment issues, is the people in my life, myself included, will abandon me. I will be abandoned. How I've abandoned myself consistently for 20 years. So I'm still alive. So the abandonment is not going to destroy me. And the realization that I will survive. At first, I was afraid. I was petrified. But I will survive. So and realizing that that is true, and that no matter what, and maybe even though I have continually abandoned myself for 20 years, I can never truly abandon myself because I can always come back. I can always come back. Other people in my life, who knows? I'm not here to decide for them. But I know that I, in the abandonment of myself by coming back, I don't know, maybe it just feels more real now. Maybe the abandonment, I don't know, I'm losing the plot a little bit. How do I trust myself now? Because at times too, it also still like a lot of, I think in this process, part of the growth is becoming a little bit more introspective and certainly looking at my life a little bit more, auditing my life really, just like, yeah, what am I doing here? What am I doing with this? And so it's funny to realize the things that I still do. I'm like, ooh, that's definitely, yeah, I definitely got to let that go because that's not that's not working for me. And this, oh, okay. This is how. If it's something that I do and then afterwards I don't feel good about it, then I know it's not for me. And sometimes those things have been so ingrained in my life and I've been doing them for so long that I will ask for help, or I want to ask for help from someone else and building that trust. And then that's an exercise in trust and trusting someone of like, hey, I'm really struggling with this. Yeah. 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 And like, I am excited that I'm remembering more about my life. I'm going to write a memoir, and then it's going to be this really thick, like big old chunky book. And then you'll just open the first page and it'll be like, I don't know. And then the rest of the pages will be blank. So a friend from high school just started following me today. Humble brag. And we were in a friend group. Like he was a part of my like my friend group. We were in a band together. And yeah, he started. I went to college and we lost touch because hello, self abandonment. And yeah, he just started following me today, and it got me thinking a lot about. For a really long time, I've had a lot of regret about just losing touch with friends and losing touch with people. Because like even this particular friend, I remember even I tried to like help him do something during 2020. So we Zoom. We did a video chat and yeah, just caught up. And I was like, oh, whoa, this is wild. And even then, lost touch again. For a long time, I've had a lot of regret and have thought about like apologizing to people in my past of just like, hey, sorry I lost touch, or sorry we grew apart. And only really as I'm recording this am I realizing that it has nothing to do with them, because I was always bound to lose touch, because I was always going to abandon them, because I that's all I knew. And because was abandoned and have abandoned myself over and over and over again, and realizing that it was this truth that I thought is relationships will end. Not might, but will end. And so every relationship in my life, friends, romantic, self, family, I've always either kept it at an arm's length out of fear that if to let them hear and then the abandonment would happen would be too much, or would just abandon them myself before I could be abandoned. I hurt you, so you don't hurt me. And so realizing it's like, actually, I don't think I need to apologize to them or anyone in my past, except maybe the people I wronged, which is like, have I wronged people before? Yes, actually, yes. I am thinking of many times in which I've wronged people, just wronged them fully. And so, yeah, I don't need to apologize to the people that I've abandoned because it's all I knew and all I know. I do need to apologize to myself because I've done it so many times and I don't know how not to. And part of this channel and part of this growth is learning how not to abandon myself. And man, I was thinking about this in the shower too, of so many things in my life can be traced to that singular abandonment wound. Because I was thinking about like mentors and how I've never really had one. I think I've talked about this before. Maybe I was talking about, yeah, I was talking, this is an old video. I was talking about this with my mom. Mentors growing up because, and then only realizing is because I never allowed myself to trust. My issue with authority was distrusting authority, but instead of actively rebelling against authority and saying, screw you can't tell me what to do. You're not my dad. I would play along and I would disappear and vanish. Be like, cool, I'm just going to do everything exactly that you tell me so that I don't stand out because I don't want that attention. Because if I get the attention that I actually so desperately crave, that then I'll get closer to this person and then they'll leave. And yeah, and realizing that mentorship is cool. But ultimately, I have to forgive myself for all of those things because forgiveness is the opposite of abandoning. Ooh. And I think that's it for me. Thanks for watching. You are all incredible. I'm so grateful for you. So grateful that you exist. If you're watching this right now, thank you for being here. And I will see you on the next video. Okay. Ta-ta. Bye. Bye. We'll see you later.